Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. I am Sherrilyn. I'm so glad you found me. If you're not new here, welcome back. Thank you for joining me every single upload. You already know you. I love you and I appreciate you so freaking much. Okay, I'm actually really, I'm really excited to talk about this today, but you get it. It's been something that I've been following for a while, and there are actual updates kind of like happening in real time right now. So I've held off, and now I'm like, these are the updates I've been hoping for. Freaking yes, we're getting him, man. So this is not making sense to you yet. It will in a minute. Let's get started. Before we do, I have a quick riddle for you. All right, today's riddle is, ask this question all day long, but always get completely different answers. And yet all the answers will be correct. What is the question? Ooh. While you think about it, I have one more quick message for you. I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor today, Rocket Money. If you have never heard of Rocket Money, it's an all-in-one personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower your bills, set saving goals, and get on top of your budget all in one place. Full transparency, because I'm in Canada, I cannot use the app, but, and this is a big but, my co-host Chelsea can and does, and if you know us, like by this point, we're basically the same person. One of the coolest features that I so need in my life is the subscription canceling tool. I literally just got a notification this morning for a monthly charge that I thought I had canceled months ago. I was so upset. And if I had Rocket Money, it would have helped me cancel all of those forgotten about subscriptions in just a couple taps. They also have a bill negotiation feature, which can do things like save you money on your internet bill without having to deal with customer service, which for that alone would be worth it for me. Not just for the savings, but for not being the one to have to deal, like with a real person, because I swear they can just sense my inability of not being able to say no over the phone. For example, I tried to cancel my cable about 2 months ago. This is a real story. Spoiler alert. Not only did I not cancel my cable, but I increased the bill because I added 3 extra security cameras to my package. So if this is also you and you're in the US and you want to stop paying for subscriptions you forgot about, or you also can't say no and then you just panic buy and commit, go to rocketmoney.com/Sherrilyn or click the link in my description to try Rocket Money for free. You can also unlock even more features with their premium option. Once again, that is rocketmoney.com/Sherrilyn or click the link in my description to try Rocket Money for free today. And again, thank you so much, Rocket Money, for sponsoring today's video. All right. Let's get started. Like I said, I've been following this story online for a couple months, and it's been unfolding in real time. And then I just saw the update we've been waiting for, and now I'm here to share. Okay, this is a real life, I guess, like Hoarder house of horrors that started unfolding on TikTok about 2 months ago. And when I tell you, I was glued to this woman's TikTok because I had a feeling she was going to get to like the bottom of this and this person was going to get exposed really quickly. And it's been so interesting because it's like you see that she's been on like the cusp of getting justice for a lot of victims. And now I can finally say that there has been an arrest. So what I want to do though is I want to go through the backstory so that you can kind of come along if you didn't see this on your For You page and see how all of this unfolded with me. So this is Darby. She is an antique dealer and often gets called to go through houses acquired in tax sales to assess and see if there's anything there that's of value. And so about 2 months ago, she gets called to a place in Dauphin County in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania that was sold in a tax sale, and a real estate developer had bought it, and it is in rough shape, as you will be able to see from the TikToks. According to the neighbors, the home became dilapidated over the years, and they've been complaining for a long time to get it cleaned up. Little did they know that this house wasn't just dilapidated, it was a place that was keeping deeply disturbing and sickening secrets. I do want to emphasize that there's a very strong trigger warning today for rape, SA, and child pornography, if you will. So this started unraveling in September 2024 when the property was repossessed and sold to this new owner during a tax sale. My understanding is, I think this is like a real estate investor, don't quote me on that, and like purchased it with the intention of like dropping and rebuilding, and had it sitting for several months until earlier this year, 2025, if you were watching from the future, hello. And Darby was hired to go in and go through everything. And I mean, looking at this place gives me so much anxiety. I would not even know where to start. I can't even look at it without just like my palms getting sweaty. But Darby knows what to do, all right? So she's sifting through literal mountains of junk and comes across a few things that give her a little bit of a pause. Things like an alarming amount of, pornography VHS tapes like everywhere in this house. She also found boxes and boxes, she said, of lingerie with tags still on them. But she's seen a lot, so she's just assuming, okay, well, like she knew like an older gentleman had lived there, but maybe, like at one point there was also like an adult dancer there or whatever. No. All right, that wasn't the situation.
I am currently at least 6 feet off the ground in Hoarder. I am an antique dealer and I've been like contracted to go through this hoarder's house by a real estate investor and pick out the valuable items. Found some things that are very alarming. The first thing I notice is videotapes, suggestive, and things of the sort everywhere, as well as boxes on boxes of lingerie with tags on. And I assume that the woman who lived here was a scripper. So that was like, whatever.
She also came across a weird, concerning letter from the previous homeowner's mother that the mother had written to him while he was in prison. And it said something along the lines of, I'm going to do everything that I can to get you out. And then she did go into saying like, your anger is a problem. And if you don't get it addressed, it's going to manifest and not end well. And she's like, I've killed somebody and I don't want you to end up the same way.
And then, I was reading a letter, and it was from a mother to the son who lived here, and he just went to jail. And she's writing him, and she says, I just found out that you got booked. I'm going to do everything in my power to get you out. And then she says, insert name, your anger is a problem, and if you don't address it, it's going to manifest, and it's not going to end well. You know that I've killed somebody, and I don't want you to end up the same way. I just have this written confession. Also, why would you send that letter to a prison? Crazy.
As far as I know, we still do not have answers for that. I think Darby did address this maybe in a live or something. Again, I could be making this up right now. I didn't see it again though, where the detective that she was talking to was possibly like, maybe this was like a vehicular manslaughter type of situation. I don't know.
About the letter. The police officer said that she's almost certain it is something that some of you guys guessed this in the comments, that the murder confession is something that has already been addressed in court, maybe something like vehicular manslaughter, something of the sort, but she's still gonna look into it. I will read the letter to you, okay? Here it is. For reference, like if you didn't see the previous videos, this is a letter that the Hoarder house guy, his mother, sent to him when he just got booked into prison. Insert name. This was March 20th, 2002. Hi, baby. How are things going in there for you? When I first heard you were in there, I was hurt and trying to figure out how to get you out. But when I talked to you on the phone, it seemed as if you didn't care what happens to you. I want to get, insert another person's name, I'm assuming a lawyer, to get your case, but I need to know if you're gonna do right if I spend my money to get you home. Insert his name. Your anger is a very serious problem that has to be released from you before you kill someone or someone kills you. I know you don't want to hear my preaching, but insert name. I'm only trying to tell you what I've lived. You know I killed someone, and I don't want to see history repeat itself. So, insert name, please baby, talk to me or someone, anyone, to get this anger out. Because anger leads to hatred, then hatred will lead to death. I'm just putting it together now with that last sentence that I read, that perhaps her murder was a little bit more premeditated, saying that your hatred will lead to death because she had hatred and she lived it. Okay, and you know you're the only son I have, and I don't want to lose you. And even if you're mad at me or feel like you hate me, and I'm all right with that as long as you're alive and I am well, always have time to mend any wounds. And then she says stuff like, I'll always love you. Do you have any film that wants to be developed? I'll be writing again soon. Love you, Mom.
But she's finding these things, right? So this on top of it is like, where am I?
Everybody's got skeletons in their closet, but not these kind of skeletons. Not this kind of fucking skeleton.
Yeah, anyways, it's giving Norman Bates and his mom. I don't know why somebody would write this to their son in prison, but it gets worse. So Darby comes across this lockbox in his bedroom and she breaks into it and her stomach sinks. In this lockbox, she finds a bunch of Polaroids of different young women who appear to be heavily intoxicated and or drugged. The majority of them are in their undergarments and it's like pushed aside to expose their genitals. On the backs of some of these photos, she said there were disturbing things written on them like punched and kicked. Like the thought of that is just, it makes me want to be sick. So as you can probably imagine, Darby is going through this and just like deeply disturbed.
In the upstairs closet, I found a lockbox, and I was curious. I was like, there's got to be something valuable in here. And I spent like 30 minutes picking this lock. I open it up, and nothing could have prepared me for what was inside. At first, it was pictures that were just suggestive, whatever. And then I found a lot of pictures of a lot of different women who were obviously out of their mind on drugs, you know, roofied. Disturbing photos, like insect acts with, on the back of the photos, there's things like punched and kicked, and I don't know. So I'm afraid of what I'm going to find next.
And as she continued to sift through things, she's finding even more boxes that are filled with more of these types of pictures. She also found numerous video camera SIM cards, floppy disks, several rolls of film, which she said she did not want to see for herself, and she turned everything over to authorities.
This is a spy camera, you little fucking peeping Tom. And you know what else you left in that spy camera? Little fucking SIM card.
No, I have not looked at what's on the SIM card. I have a SIM card reader that has an adapter for one that's small for some reason, and I'm not looking at that. What I did look at is, so this man had a lot of VHS. Some VHS is valuable, and I'm a VHS collector. Some VHS is taped over, and I'm really interested in old rap, whatever. So I popped some of the VHS tapes into my VCR, and I found one that is getting turned in to the cops. I wrote on it, how old is this girl? She looks like a teenager doing erotic modeling. Definitely filmed in his house. And then part of the movie, whatever, the young girl is sleeping. So that is getting turned in tonight.
People are asking why I am allowed in this house, but are also discrediting the validity of the case, saying like, well, why would she be allowed to be in the house after criminal evidence has been found in there? The answer is pretty simple. Some people might not like it, but the answer is that there's simply not enough detectives. The real estate investor who I'm working with to find valuables in the house technically owns every single thing that's in that house, and we're legally allowed to be in there, and we're legally allowed to bring anything that's concerning to, at first it was the police, now it's the detectives on the case. I'm speaking for Detective Powell, and if he sees this, he can tell me otherwise. But the greatest case scenario would be that there would be a team of 20 detectives, 10 to anything. But there's just not enough. It's completely legal. It's completely, there's nothing wrong with what we're doing here. It is what it is, and it is so much better for me to bring evidence that I find forward, that I stumble upon forward. I want to remind you with love that this is real life. This is a real life ongoing case. It is not Law and Order. It is not SVU. And sometimes things in real life don't work out like you see them on TV and movies. With love, I am reminding you of that. I would also like to add that Detective Powell is a he's a good man, and he's good at what he does. He doesn't want me to see criminal evidence. You know, by no means is he saying, oh, you have VHS, bring the ones forward that you've seen that you view and are bad, bring those towards me. No, If I find, at this point, it's like, if I find a VHS tape, if I find a cassette, if I find a folder where I open the folder and the first photo is kind of concerning, I just bring it all to him. I don't view anything anymore. And he encourages that. He's happy to go through all of that. And he does not want me at all to see anything that's traumatizing. You can go through my videos and see, actually, we had a talk on live. So that's the answer. That's really all I have to say about it.
So initially, as this was, unfolding in real time, she's obviously not allowed to share a lot of information because of the ongoing investigation. So while she was trying to keep people updated, she gave this previous homeowner the pseudonym Gregory and makes this TikTok. And she's like, I know you're still living in the area. You better get ready to be held accountable for the horrible things you have done, and gave a message of hope to any women in the area who had been harmed by this man. And I think that was like one of the first ones that came up on my FYP, and I was just like hair on my arm stood up. So now we have most of the answers that Darby needed to keep close to her chest for investigation's sake. According to the Harrisburg Bureau of Police, 73-year-old Gerald Brown, not Gregory, Gerald Brown was arrested on April 7th for 4 counts of child pornography, 4 counts of photo film of child engaging in sex acts, photographing, videotaping, depicting on computer and or film sexual acts, 1 count to sell obscene sexual material, and 1 count of burglary, 1 count of invasion of privacy. We'll get into those in a second.
I have no idea how to start this video, so I'm just gonna read to you. Gerald, his name is Gerald Brown, not Gregory. He's been arrested and detained on Monday, April 7th. Let's read the article. A 51-year-old woman had no idea she had been essayed in 1995 until a Harrisburg detective played a VHS tape of the attack for her this spring, according to police. The video showed her at age 22 drinking from a cup, becoming intoxicated, and falling unconscious before Gerald Brown, then 44, essayed her, police said. The camera appeared to have been hidden behind a television inside Brown's Harrisburg home. She's one of 3 women Harrisburg police tracked down using photos and VHS tapes recovered from the home on Chestnut Street. There's a lot more victims that have been identified than that. Previously owned by Brown, they said. The home became dilapidated over the years, with neighbors complaining for years for the rundown home to be cleaned up. Led to a police investigation resulting in criminal charges against Brown for several felonies and misdemeanors. I'd like to take a moment to go through those. 4 felony counts of CSAM. 4 counts of disseminating photo/film of CSAM acts. 2 counts of photographing/videotaping/depicting on computer CSAM. 1 felony count of burglary, which was him breaking the lock. We'll get to that. 1 misdemeanor count of selling obscene material. 1 misdemeanor count of invasion of privacy. So far. Several felonies and misdemeanors related to CSAM, indecent, privacy, and more. The charges were filed on Monday. Police later found and arrested Brown.
Like Darby said, there was an alarming amount of pornography. A lot, it sounds like, included young girls. They also found photos that had the home's address on it, so knowing that that is where that took place. And then dates and a stamp that said Gerald Brown Photography stamped on them. I guess, like evidence-wise, it's like, you laid it all out there for us, bud. Gross. But on top of that, Gerald was also seen in some pictures and videos, from what I understand. It's just, the whole thing is absolutely sickening. I did come across an article in Penn Live, and it gives us some insight to how horrific and disturbing this monster is, and how investigators are now in the process of trying to identify a lot of the victims, because they most likely don't even know what happened to them. And that is so heartbreaking. One of the women who has now been identified is a 51-year-old woman who had no idea that she had been sexually assaulted in 1995 until a Harrisburg detective, he actually had to play her one of the VHSs that was found. Allegedly, this video shows her when she's only 22 years old, drinking from a cup, becoming intoxicated, passing out, and then Gerald Brown, who at the time was 44, actually assaulted her, essayed her. So she's one of 3 women that Harrisburg police have tracked down at this point, and they've done so by using facial recognition technology to identify them, which is just wild. According to police, there is also a video of him assaulting, essaying a 11-year-old in his bed in August 2004. And in another clip, it shows that he had like several hidden cameras around the house, one of them being inside a bathroom, and this 11-year-old at the time was filmed while she was showering. She is now an adult, married, and according to police, she did say that she knew Gerald Brown and like remember spending time with him when she was a child, but the article didn't elaborate on like what that entailed. I think what's so sickening here is that this piece of garbage, he had business cards advertising himself as a photographer, and that just makes my skin crawl. I cannot imagine what finding this would have felt like for Darby. I cannot imagine what this is feeling like for victims, especially if that was like what, the impression of meeting him was, especially back in the day. I think we hear so much more of things like that. Like, oh my God, why am I not able to remember this creep's name? He was a serial killer. Awful. Alcata. What's his last name? Someone in the comments, please. But it was the same thing, presenting themselves as photographers. And, in the 90s, 80s, there wasn't forums and things like that to warn women to stay away from this person. I guess, you had word of mouth in the area, but still, if they weren't remembering things, like the whole situation is just, it's so freaking upsetting. All right, so obviously he's not gone to trial yet. This is like all within like the past like couple weeks that it's even been made public, like what his actual name is. Therefore, at this moment in time, he has not been convicted. I think the fact that there is video and photo evidence with him in it and like the name and the locations, it's pretty much like as strong of a case as you can get. And his own actions didn't really scream innocent either. I mentioned that there was a burglary charge, and that's because this man and his nephew tried to break into this house after the sale. This was something that I also kind of like saw unfolding online, but we didn't know like he was the one breaking in. So Darby had said in one of her videos that she knew he was watching, which is so creepy. And sure enough, the police reported that Gerald Brown, along with his nephew, Larry Brown Sr., they tried to break into the house once she knew that she was going through this house piece by piece. I don't know if they thought Gerald thought that the house was going to, be sold in this tax sale, and then it was just going to like go up in flames and not have people like literally go through piece by piece to see if there were any valuables in there. I do think that he just thought someone would be so overwhelmed that they would just like grab a bulldozer, like dumpster, and just haul it all away. So when he found out that there was somebody going through it, he tries to break in the house. So I guess a neighbor saw him and the nephew cutting the lockbox or like the deadbolt that was on the front door to get into the home. The neighbor calls the police. When the police arrive, Gerald allegedly asked to take any photographs that he could find, like lying on the floor. You sick mother effer. Obviously, police refused. They told him to leave. He didn't stop there, though. A month later, he gives the new homeowner, like the nerve on this piece of gives the new homeowner a handwritten note apologizing for the break-in, and then asks if he can buy the photographs back from him. Like, can you imagine? Sicko. In my opinion, this man is exactly where he needs to be right now, like based on the actions, based on what we're hearing of the evidence so far. I usually don't like to talk too much if there's like not a conviction yet, but ew. I also feel like I have some serious questions for the nephew for participating in this attempted break-in and seemingly being an accomplice to stealing evidence for this monster, but hey. So as of right now, April 2025, I believe he's still waiting for like his court date. Darby has been updating on her TikTok, so I will leave that linked in the description. She also does like a lot of lives while she's like working, not just in this house, but like she does this a lot, going through like hoarder stuff, and I don't know, just kind of like shows a lot of content that's geared toward antiquing and how she appraises things, which is really cool. So you can go and send her some love and support over there. She actually also just made a new TikTok, I believe it was today, I saw it today, so it must have been recent, where she, along with police, are saying, you know, this investigation is ongoing and there are a lot of victims to be identified out there. So anybody who believes that they may be victimized by Gerald Brown, or who has information about the material he allegedly created, you're urged to contact the Harrisburg Police Bureau at 717-558-6900. Once again, that's 717-558-6900.
This video is a call to action. I need your help. Whether this is the first time you're seeing me, or maybe you've been keeping up with the story since the very beginning, Gerald Brown's preliminary hearing is in 2 weeks. There's a large effort being made to identify as many of his victims as possible. There are a lot, and a lot that we don't know about. I need your help because TikTok has actually helped bring evidence forward, and as many people that know about the story, the better. This man was not just victimizing girls, women, and boys in Harrisburg. He traveled across the country and he traveled across the world. The way that I need your help is, please, if you feel called to, reposting my content helps. Stitching it, duetting it, talking about it, posting about it on other social platforms. If you look up Gerald Brown Harrisburg arrest, you will find all of the articles and the phone numbers to call if you or somebody you know has been victimized by him. We want social media to help do its thing. You know, I want to find every single victim that there has ever been by this man so that he can receive due justice and never breathe fresh air again.
And she also mentioned too that he traveled a lot as well. So this is not just specifically in Harrisburg. This could be, you know, like US wide. So if you recognize this guy, and you know, you think you might have something of value or use, they always say, you know, like, even if you think it's insignificant, it actually could be the piece that they need. So again, 717-558-6900. I will also leave Darby's TikTok below. But that's where things are at right now. And I've just wanted to talk about it. And especially now that I've heard that there are so many people that don't even realize that they could have been a victim and like need justice. I wanted to talk about this. So that is it for me today. After this, I am also still looking for investigators, maybe that too, to make Jurassic Jail a thing. All right. So let me know where we're at with that. I'm supposed to be the one letting you guys know where we're at with that. But obviously, I'm only one person, you guys. Right? It takes a village to make Jurassic Park, and I need you on board. Riddle answer. I think we all need the riddle answer right now. Quick refresher. Ask this question all day long, but always get completely different answers. And yet all the answers will be correct. What is the question? And the answer to that is, what time is it? That's so clever. All right. I will see you in the next video. I will miss you terribly. Until then, make sure to love each other, love yourself, and I will see you soon. Bye.